The first thing Sarah, Chen noticed when she opened her eyes wasn't the sterile white ceiling or the gentle hum of medical equipment. It was his voice. Warm, patient, encouraging. A voice that seemed to have been calling her back from the depths of darkness for longer than she could remember. That's it, Sarah. Take your time. You're safe now. She turned her head slowly, muscles protesting after years of stillness. The young doctor beside her bed had kind brown eyes and gentle hands that checked her pulse with practiced care. His name tag read Dr. Michael Torres, but somehow, she felt she already knew him. Where? She whispered, her voice barely a whisper. After so much silence, St. Mary's Hospital, he said softly, pulling up a chair beside her bed. You've been in a coma for 3 years, Sarah, but you're awake now. You're going to be okay. 3 years. The words hit her like a wave. Sarah Chen, CEO of Chen Industries, one of the youngest millionaires in the country, had lost 3 entire years of her life. The car accident that had stolen her consciousness felt like yesterday. Yet the world had moved on without her. Over the following weeks, as Sarah slowly regained her strength, she learned about the changes in her life. Her company had been run by trusted executives. Her penthouse apartment had been maintained by her assistant. Her bank accounts had grown even larger through investments she couldn't remember making. Everything had continued perfectly in her absence, as if she had never been needed at all. But there was one constant that had remained through it all. Dr. Michael Torres. You were here the whole time, she said one afternoon as he checked her rehabilitation progress. Sunlight streamed through the hospital window, casting gentle shadows across his face. Michael paused in his note-taking. I was your attending physician. Yes, it's my job to care for my patients. That's not what I mean. Sarah studied his expression, seeing something flicker in his eyes. The nurses told me. You visited me every day, even when you weren't on duty. You talked to me, read to me. A soft blush colored his cheeks. Coma patients can sometimes hear what's happening around them. I thought, I hoped it might help. What he didn't tell her was how he had fallen in love with her spirit long before she ever opened her eyes. He had read her journals to her, discovered, through her writing, the brilliant, compassionate woman beneath the business headlines. He had played her favorite music, learned from her assistant about her dreams beyond corporate success. He had held her hand during thunderstorms because her heart rate would spike. And somehow, his touch seemed to calm her. As Sarah's physical therapy progressed, so did their conversations. Michael would sit with her during his breaks, sharing stories about his small-town childhood, his decision to become a doctor, his quiet life that was so different from her high-powered world. Why did you become a doctor? She asked one evening as they watched the sunset from the hospital garden. My younger sister was sick when we were kids, he said quietly. The doctor who treated her didn't just save her life. He gave our whole family hope when we had none left. I wanted to be that person for someone else. Sarah felt something shift in her chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the golden hour light. And have you been? Michael looked at her then, really looked at her, and she saw her answer in his eyes. I hope so. The day Sarah was discharged, reality crashed back in. Her assistant, Margaret, arrived with a limousine and a stack of documents requiring her attention. Business deals that had been waiting, board meetings that needed scheduling, a life of wealth and responsibility that felt suddenly foreign. The penthouse is exactly as you left it, Margaret said as they drove through the city. I've had your personal shopper refresh your wardrobe for the season. Your first board meeting is scheduled for Monday. Sarah nodded absently, watching the hospital grow smaller in the rearview mirror. She thought about Michael, probably starting his evening rounds, checking on other patients with the same gentle care he had shown her that night. Alone in her vast penthouse apartment, Sarah felt more isolated than she had in the hospital. The silence was different here, not peaceful, but empty. She found herself reaching for her phone, wanting to call Michael, but stopped. What would she say? Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for 3 years of one-sided conversations. Thank you for making me feel more alive in a hospital bed than I ever felt in this golden cage. The answer came to her gradually. Over the following weeks, as she returned to her corporate life, board meetings felt meaningless. Profit reports seemed hollow. She would sit in her corner office, looking down at the city, and remember the simple joy of watching sunrise from a hospital window with a kind doctor who asked for nothing in return. 3 months after her discharge, Sarah made a decision that surprised everyone who knew her. She announced her retirement from active management of Chen Industries, choosing instead to transform the company's focus toward healthcare philanthropy. Her first project was a new wing for St. Mary's Hospital. On the day she returned to finalize the donation, she found Michael in the same garden where they used to watch sunsets. He looked up in surprise as she approached, a genuine smile lighting his face. Sarah, what are you doing here? I wanted to thank you, she said, settling beside him on the familiar bench. Not just for the medical care. Everything else. You don't need to thank me for doing my job. Is that all it was? She asked gently. Your job. Michael was quiet for a long moment, watching a butterfly land on the nearby roses. "No," he said finally. "It wasn't just my job. I had to know you, Sarah, through your journals, your music, the stories your assistant would tell. I fell in love with your mind before I ever saw you awake. And then, when you opened your eyes," he looked at her then, vulnerable and honest. "I knew I was in trouble." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you're Sarah Chen. You're brilliant and successful, and you have this whole amazing life waiting for you. And I'm just a doctor who saved me." Sarah interrupted. "Who talked to me for 3 years when no one else believed I could hear. Who held my hand during storms and read me poetry and never gave up hope." She reached for his hand, the same hand that had guided her back to consciousness. "Michael, you didn't just save my life, you showed me what life could be." As the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Sarah Chen realized that waking up from her coma hadn't been the miracle. The miracle was finding someone who loved her, not for her wealth or success, but for the woman she was when everything else was stripped away. And in Michael's gentle kiss, she found the life she never knew she was searching for. One measured, not in profits and achievements, but in quiet moments and shared sunsets and the simple, profound joy of being truly seen by another human being. Sometimes the greatest fortune isn't what you accumulate, but what you discover was there all along, waiting patiently for you to wake up and notice.